It's a reason to celebrate that at least 1 billion people have got it, but it's actually a pathetic effort. It's pathetic because we know it puts all of us at risk when there's 7.9 billion people on the planet and only 1 billion have been vaccinated. We know that the Delta variant arose in unvaccinated India and no border security could stop Delta getting here. We know the Omicron arose in largely unvaccinated South Africa. Nothing could stop the Omicron getting here. So any talk about living with the virus and opening up in Australia simply is hollow talk unless our leaders step up and, with the wealthy nations, help vaccinate the whole world. Otherwise, this invisible virus that biologically connects the whole human race puts Australians at risk, and we will not be able to live with ongoing mutant variants.
COVAX had a goal of 2 billion doses to be given out by the end of last year. Why didn't it achieve that?
Because the rich nations, including Australia, bought up 5 times the number of vaccines for their own populations and left the poor nations without any means to access the vaccination. When you hear people talking about vaccine apartheid and their meaning in Australia, vaccine mandates, and they call it apartheid, that's a completely meaningless statement. Vaccine apartheid actually means poor nations of the world who want their populations vaccinated, who cannot get access because they're poor to vaccinations. So it was to be 2 billion. The world said that's our goal, and it failed by 50%. It's why we're calling on the Australian government to actually step up and contribute 250 million to the COVAX pledging conference in a week, because we are not safe until we have vaccinated the world's poor.
There are countries like Papua New Guinea, though, where Australia gave millions of doses, but vaccination rates remain very low because of hesitancy. So it's not just a supply issue, is it?
No, in Papua New Guinea, you're absolutely right. We sadly turned AstraZeneca in this nation into something like hemlock, a poison. And Papua New Guineans watch our TV, and they said, if white Australians won't take it, we're not taking it. So we're also calling on an extra $50 million from our government to combat vaccine hesitancy. That's very real. Unlike, say, Fiji, also a Christian nation like PNG, which has over 80% of its population vaccinated. If you get the good and the great really leading and saying get vaccinated, you can overcome vaccine hesitancy, but it takes some funds to actually have a concerted campaign.
There have been calls for the big pharmaceutical companies like Pfizer to release the IP on their vaccines so nations can manufacture the vaccines themselves, poorer nations. Is that something you support?
Yeah, poorer nations absolutely want the opportunity to manufacture and then distribute their own vaccines. And when there's a global pandemic, my own instinct says, look, governments should thoroughly reimburse Big Pharma, but shouldn't give them the intellectual protection so that they can just sell at great profit to rich nations, because it's a global pandemic. We've got to overcome nationalistic thinking. Every government, including ours, likes to say, look how good we've been for you, getting boosters or rats tests, or we're looking after you. They're not looking after us if we haven't vaccinated the world's poor. This is why there is this sort of complete missing like this of a surreal conversation to say we're protecting you, when the best thing they can do in Australia's case is contribute 250 million, our share, to the COVAX facility. That would protect us. That would be a far better spend on nuclear subs and all our defence spending. This is a pandemic that always comes in, as Delta and Omicron have.